innovative content, global audience.
Here in Abuja, we're reaching you live from our SRO TV studio here in the Federal Capital Territory. This is Wake Up Nigeria. My name is Princess KESSY, and this morning I'm here with
Patience OKOSUN.
How are you, Patient? How was your night?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes, we have a lot of trending issues this morning, but the one that is not even too, I feel for Nigerians, the travelers, airports have been grounded, and a lot of people are stranded. A lot of people trekked a whole long distance yesterday. Some people could not travel as well. They had to go back home. A lot of people missed their flight, and that is one issue that is not even
good.
Is not good this morning. And then also there's still much drama coming from Adamawa as regarding the work official that announced. Yes, that announcement that was done some days ago. Binani already, she headed to court, and a lot of issues are trending this morning. And of course, we saw a very sad one where a lady as well sold her baby for 600K just to upset a bank loan she took.
That's
the things that happen in Nigeria. Now we're going to move on quickly to the newspaper reviews, and I'm going to kickstart this morning with this day newspaper. Now these are some of the stories we have making waves this morning. We have here INEC suspends Adamawa wreck as INEC suspend Adamawa wreck as Binani seeks judiciary review of her announcement. Now, the rider here says PDP gives commission 72 hours ultimatum to conclude rerun poll. Another rider says Ari playing Yakubu scripts, Atiku's aide alleges. And we also have here parties governor forum commends electoral body for nullifying attempted coup. And another rider says demands weeding out of partisan corrupt INEC officials. Now all those stories on page 10 of this day newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says Buhari recounts achievements in oil, gas sector, list PIA as biggest accomplishments. And the rider says discloses 200 billion naira, $7 million rank in from sale of marginal fields, says $2.8 billion AKK pipeline, 43% completed. Now that story is on page 10 as well of this day newspaper. We have a story here that says aviation workers strike forces passengers to trek to airports, union block access roads. That story is on page 6 of this day newspaper. COVID-19, federal government effects, 45.3 billion reimbursement to states FCT. Now that story is on page 5 of this day newspaper. We have a story here as well that says NAFTAC approves a clinical malaria vaccine for children. That story is on page 10 of this day newspaper. Now these are some of the stories we have making waves this morning. Now there's a story here I saw. NAFDAC approved a clinical malaria vaccine for children. That is really good, because I feel children, they more likely they are prone to malaria. To we adults, we can protect ourselves from mosquitoes, from a lot of things, but the children cannot. And I think that's a very good one. We applaud them for that. And as well, we saw a story here, like I said earlier, aviation workers strike, ground airports. It's really a sad one. A lot of people had to miss their flight yesterday, and I believe that strike is still ongoing as we speak. And I think federal government would need to see to their demand as a matter of urgency so that they relieve stress from people. Because I can imagine when somebody is going to Abuja airport, for instance, imagine the place is blocked. You have to trek from that gate, or from, it's not something that I can do. I know certainly I cannot do it. And so they should do what they have to do. And then we saw a story here that said the main headlines that say INEC suspend Adamawa wreck as Binani seeks judiciary review of her announcement. And these are the issues.
The nanny, she doesn't want to. She's not giving up. And
I
she's
said
not
something
letting go
yesterday, and
easily.
you had a different opinion.
Yeah.
But I am saying I'm still insisting on that. I don't think I see. Sometimes you just allow all this electoral process, allow them to take the due process. Don't cut corners, because at the end of the day, when you cut corners, you're still going to land yourself in tribunal or in some place that will still take you back to where you're coming from. So allow the process to be completed. Then we cannot say, okay, you have the right to go to your judiciary if you so wish.
Well,
We move on quickly to the next newspaper we have.
And then coming from Vanguard this morning, the big news here says Adamawa governor pool crisis. INEC bars suspended rec to announce results Thursday. The writer here says, stop this Adamawa show of shame. PDP governor tells INEC. PDP supporters protest. Give INEC 72 hours to announce results. We have a writer that also says CSOs urge Buhari to intervene, say drama could hurt democracy. And so we have another story here that says APC candidate Aisha seeks court to hurt Adamawa Guba poll. You find out exact story on page 34. And then we have a story here that says NAFDAC give regulatory approval to R21 malaria vaccine. You find that story on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. We have a story also that says government probe biotech firm disposing toxic waste into River Benue. I'll take that again. Government probe biotech firm disposing toxic waste into River Benue. You find that story on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. We also have a story that says how Atiku Obi Kwankwaso helped Tinubu's victory. Fashola says Fashola actually. We have a story, cash crunch, e-payment transaction rise 298% to 135 trillion naira in 3 months. Wow, okay. And so we have a story also here that says 2 aides killed, 3 policemen hospitalized as kidnappers adopt son in Rivers. We have a story that also says gridlock flight disruption. Gridlock flight disruptions, as aviation union begin 2 days warning strike. We also have a story that says crisis NLC storm Labour Party National Secretariat. The writer says we came to fumigate party office against rodents. We have a story that also says police arrest man for kidnapping, burying 3-year-old child alive in Castina. Okay, so we have a story also that says, you find that story on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. Allocate more resources to health, agriculture, Oxfam tax incoming government. Oxfam tax incoming government. You find that story on page 21 of the Vanguard newspaper. And then we have a story also that says Finidi Enyimba won't relent in NPFL title chase. You find that story on page 37 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And then we have a story that says Osinbajo fume over weaponization of ethnic religious sectional prejudice. I'll take that again, I'm sorry. Osinbajo fume over weaponization of ethnic religious sectional prejudice. You find that story on page 29 of the Vanguard newspaper. Those are the story making waves this morning from Vanguard. Princess, I think I heard the story this morning about e-payment transaction rise 298% to 135 trillion naira. I think that's much. During the course of this cash crisis, a lot of people had so much transaction and their money are being is either you get debited.
My own has been hanging up to now. I haven't gotten them back. A lot of people, even cash hanging, and then I told you a friend of mine went to the bank some days ago, 200k up to now, and they are telling him to go back to the other bank He went to his own bank to complain, and they had to send him back to the customer's bank. So at this point, what do you do? And then I saw a story here as well that was not. I felt, in fact, I felt cold when you read that. When you read at that story, that police arrest man for kidnapping, burying 3-year-old child alive in Castina. The evil that people do. This is really sad. I always tell parents, look out for your children. We know that you cannot be too careful, but when it comes to children, they are vulnerable and they depend on us to take care of them.
I get
So
to
you
wonder
should.
how parents will do that to a child, just like the headline you read about the 18-month-old baby.
They said a man. Is it really the parents that did that?
Whoa.
So it could be a kid. She was kidnapped. Police arrest man for kidnapping, burying a 3-year-old child alive. So she was kidnapped, and that is why I'm calling on parents, beckoning on them to please put eyes on their children. They cannot take care of themselves, so they should be look after. And then I saw another story here as well that says I saw a story here that says 2 aides killed, 3 policemen hospitalized as kidnappers adopt son in rivers. I don't know. So is there a day that comes by that we don't have issues of kidnapping? It's really sad. It's really sad, and we keep calling on the security agencies to do what they are supposed to do. Secure the lives of the people. Whatever you do, just secure the lives of your citizens. We'll move on quickly this morning to the next newspaper we have, and I will be taking the Nigerian Tribune. These are some of the stories making waves this morning. We have here more kicks for Adamawa wreck as Binani goes to court. And the writer here says, INEC suspends him. PDP governors call his action show of shame. And then another writer says, I want appointment of Rex reviewed. Makinde visits Vintari, described Rex action unimaginable. And then we have another story here that says protesters in Yola want election results released. And then another writer says electoral body to meet today. Now all the stories are on page 5 and 4 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. We have a story here as well that says passengers stranded as aviation workers union begin strike, Grand Airports movements. Federal government says strike unnecessary. Now this is coming from the federal government, and that story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. We also have a story here that says NLC officials visit LP secretariat, back Abure's lead ESCO. That story is on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Jungle Justice. Police parade suspected killers of drivers in Ondo. I beg your pardon. We have another story here that says AAAP challenge Makinde's victory, file petition at tribunal. And that story is on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. We have another story here that says woman sells 18-month-old baby for 600,000 to offset loan in Ogun. That story is on page 15 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says the federal government approves Oxford malaria vaccine for use in Nigeria. Now, that story is on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. As well, we'll have a story here that says Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano gas pipeline, 43% ready, says Buhari. That story is on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. Now, these are some of the stories we have making waves this morning coming from the Nigerian Tribune. I saw a story here. A woman sells 18-month-old baby for 600,000 naira to offset loan. The things that happen in Nigeria, people are really going through a lot. And I think that no matter the pressure they give to you, the bank, you shouldn't do such a thing. This is
Like,
This is despicable, if you ask me.
yeah, I wonder how people get to think actually. It's better you go, and there are so many sites where you can borrow, where you can get a loan to pay your loan rather than sell off
That
an
is
18
that is
months
really sad, if
old
you ask
helpless
me.
baby.
And somebody actually came and want to buy and bought as well. How about
Yeah.
Nigerians? The things we do, say. How can you just, why not give the person later, you be collecting it, or the person work for you to an extent and then they offset the loan? Must you take the child for, and you know this person is desperate, so
Yeah.
why would you want to buy a child for as low as 600K? That is really cheap, if you ask me. That is not something any mother should do. I am just surprised. And then I saw a story here as well that says okay, we've taken the malaria story before. Yes, jungle justice.
Yesterday, this health, like you say, health is life. Yesterday there was we talked about one of the sicknesses, I think
Oral cancer.
and today we're talking about malaria. I think we need to be very careful about our environment, how we live, and what we do. We need to be very cautious
Yes,
of
you
our
need to keep your
health.
environment clean
Um,
as to avoid mosquitoes and a lot
there are
of things.
sicknesses on the
And
streets.
then I saw a story here as well on page 15 of the Nigerian Tribune that says jungle justice. Police parade suspected killers of driver in Ondo. Now, we saw this story the other time. He was alleged to be a Yahoo boy. He was
Yeah,
lynched to
was
death.
lynched to death.
And a lot of people, a lot of comments came in, a lot of opinions as well. And now we are not hearing is a driver. Now, this jungle justice thing in Nigeria needs to
Needs to
stop as a matter of urgency. I saw the mother's video. I couldn't watch that video because my heart cannot just take such things. I had to just keep immediately. I was breaking down already. So please, we need to stop the jungle justice. I don't know what people do. Before you know, in less than 2 minutes, a human
Yeah,
being
it's
is
dead.
gone. I knew
It's
what
really, really
happened
painful.
way back in my school where we had the aloe for then. It was terrible. I knew one of those guys. It was terrible. It's something I can never forget. And then I just, since then, I have never liked anything jungle justice, because I feel it's a very cruel way to
So,
die or to kill
yes,
someone.
yeah.
So people
I
should put
think
a stop
a
to it.
friend told me that if actually somebody was stealing and you caught that person stealing and then you had to kill that person in that point in such a very cruel way, you know, that person actually was committing a sin before you um killed the person. In essence, you're sending the person to go up there and also continue the suffering. So it's actually a very bad one. Jungle justice
It is
needs to
sad.
stop.
It is very sad. We move on quickly to the next newspaper we have this morning.
And then coming from the Punch newspaper this morning, the big news here says fuel subsidy. Federal government begins 40% pay price for workers April ending. The rider here says government will settle January to match arrears later, says Labour Ministry. Increased transport housing allowance also, TUC tells federal government. You find that story on page 24 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We also have a story here that says striking aviation workers reject government plea, threatening total shutdown. So we have a story also that says $2.8 billion gas pipeline processing to power 3,600 megawatts plant, federal government says. We also have a story this morning from the Punch that says Ogun woman sells 18-month-old baby to repay loan. You find that story on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. We have a story also, two parties challenge Makinde's election, tribunal order service on Sanwo-Olu. You find that story on page 12 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We have a story also that says PDP governor demand Adamawa rec trial, Binani sues INEC. You find that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We also have a story that says external reserves slide further to $35 billion. We have a story coming from the Punch newspaper this morning that says marginal oil field sale generated 203 billion naira, says Buhari. You find that story this morning on page 26 of the Punch newspaper. Those are the story making waves this morning. Well, this one, aviation workers are rejecting government plea. They are planning on shutting down. Oh, that would be a very terrible one.
It would be a disaster. It's not something I think, and I read one of the headlines as well that says federal government says strike unnecessary, but also federal government should know that this is the only way people cry out, people bring out, display their grievances. So you cannot take a strike away from workers, from unions as well. So I'm thinking that the federal government rather should come to a dialogue with these workers, and so they go back to their duties, because the ordinary Nigerians, even foreigners, they are suffering. We saw white people yesterday, a lot of people trekking, a lot of people sweating, and really children as well, and that really got to me. You can't have children trekking miles and then their mothers carrying a heavy luggages here and there. Is really something I would rather miss the flights. I know myself very well. I won't go through such a struggle for any reason. I would rather let it go for another day.
And then talking about this fuel subsidy, the big headline on federal government begins 40% pay rise for workers April ended. That's actually a good one. But my question is, what about people who don't receive government salary? I feel like this only favors some parts of the people,
because because even the private sectors, let's go to the private sectors. They do not do as we speak now the federal government workers are getting pay rise. It's not like that when it comes to the private sector. So these workers there too will have to go through the same struggle they've been going through, and they will not benefit much from this. It's really sad.
Really
and
sad.
Then we also have a story here that says two parties challenge Makinde's election tribunal orders service on Sanwo-Olu. I think the tribunal really has a lot to do this year. Let me just say this year, because
like
we know
in the
next 4-6 months or even 8 months they won't be able to finish these judiciary cases. So brace up the judiciary. You have a lot to do. Now we move on quickly to the next newspaper we have, and this is The Guardian. Now these are some of the stories we have making waves this morning. 40% of failed transactions unreserved as e-payments hits 49.4 trillion. Now that story is on page 6. Is really a sad one. We have another story here that say aviation workers reject federal government's plea, disrupt flights operations over COS welfare. Now that story is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. We have a story here as well that says a new wave of kidnappers amid botched Naira redesign policy. That story is on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have a story here that says NAFDAC grants provisional approval for first malaria vaccine in Nigeria. That story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have a story here that says Chinese brands dominate Nigeria's mobile phone market. That story is on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have a story here that says fresh oil outputs concerns as ExxonMobil declares forces Mancheri. That story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says Adamawa, despite Rex suspension, PDP insists on a protest till poll concludes. That story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Now, this story here, the major headlines that say 40% of failed transactions unreserved as e-payments hits 49.4 trillion naira.
That's a huge amount of money.
It's too much. What is going on?
Really, people. These are people money, and these are citizens' money just hanging on somewhere.
I saw this, and I bet I felt my money that was hanging was even much. Now I saw this and I'm like, okay,
Your money
you
is
don't
part
even
of
have
49.4 trillion. Your
I
money
was
is
saying, but
money
it's not,
is there. Our money
but
is
it's
there.
not even much compared to what was saying. So you can imagine that means a lot of people, because I knew when we had that cash crisis, there is nobody except you don't have a mobile app for banking app. If, there is nobody that didn't have that issue. There are times you just transfer money, you've been debited, and the money is hanging. The person will not receive the money.
Even when you go to POS, the POS person will make a transfer. Probably you want to transfer money to me, not even make withdrawal. Maybe you went to POS. The person will tell you the transaction is successful. The POS person will tell you but then the person you sent the money to has not received the money, and then the POS person will tell you go to the bank or go to your bank.
And there were instances also where people just you do one transaction and they debit you like 4 or 5 times, multiple times.
Yes.
I think CBN, please, we are appealing. After all, my money is there, so we are begging you to release this money. Whatever you have to do, call IT guys, whatever you have to do to reverse this money, you should, because the amount I'm seeing here is alarming, if you ask me. Our viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue with the reviews. Stay with us. We'll be back.
RTV London RTV London, in partnership with NTA TV Enterprise, present the maiden edition of the Nigerian Week in the capital of the world, London. A wonderful blend of entertainment, business, and networking, displaying a wide range of arts, national cash crops, financial products and services, and real estate for huge extra opportunity in diaspora. Look no further. The 36 states of the Federation, the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Trade and Investment, the Nigerian Film Corporation, and hosts of others will be in attendance. Date 15 to 21st of May 2023. Venue Lighthouse, Camberwell, Southeast London. For details, log on www.superiorradiotelevision.com/Nigerian Week or call +447 549 513 619 or +234 814 358 2856. The Nigerian Week, celebrating the best of Nigeria from the rest.
Hello viewers, you're welcome back from that short break. We're still on the newspaper review. This is Wake Up Nigeria, and of course I'm here with my girl Pat.
Yes.
Yes, we'll continue with the reviews.
Okay, coming from Daily Trust this morning, the big news here says Adamawa PDP supporters protest, give INEC 72 hours ultimatum. The writer here says Binani heads to court, insists on Rex declaration. And then we also have INEC shift emergency meeting to today. And then the final rider says embattled Rex suspended, SDP candidate seeks disqualification of Binani Fitiri. Disqualification. But we also have a story here that says Nigeria becomes second nation to approve R21 malaria vaccine. We also have a story here from Daily Trust newspaper this morning that says passengers trek as workers protest at Lagos airport. And we have a story also that says LP crisis, Abure, others remain suspended, court insists. We have a story this morning that says cholera kills 79 in Kano, Bauchi, Osun, Abia, Cross River, 7 others. You find that story on page 30 of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Tinubu micromanaged team more than Buhari, says Fashola. We also have a story that says driver jailed 15 months for celebrating election victory with company's vehicle. You find that story on page 21 of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Those are the news making waves this morning from Daily Trust.
And I saw a story here. But just before we go, I hope this vaccine is something that is genuine. Let them know, because I don't want them to come and do try and error with the children here. It won't be funny. And then I saw a story here that says cholera kills 79 in Kano, Bauchi, Onshu, Abia, Cross River, 7 others. This is very sad. And I really want people, viewers, please know what you take in. Watch the water you drink. Make sure that you're taking in a clean water, and make sure your food is properly covered. Now, it's when you have foods that are left uncovered, or when you have a lot of flies and insects perching on your food, and then you drink dirty waters, of course, unclean water, that is where we have issues of cholera. And this is something that is very dangerous. We know that I once had a church member that this happened to. Within 24 hours she was gone. So please know the things you eat. Take care of your food, take care of your environment, please. And then we have a story here that says driver jailed 15 months for celebrating election victory with company's vehicle. I don't think that is fair, if you ask me. You know, when people are happy, they could just do anything. They could get carried away. I think in as much as it's a company's vehicle, I don't think I feel that's quite rather harsh.
It's really harsh. I read the story this morning. I was like, 15 months for what? For celebrating?
It's harsh, if you ask me. And then we move on quickly to the next newspaper we have this morning, and this will be this Nigeria. These are some of the stories making waves. You were reckless. INEC hits hard at Adamawa electoral official. UNISA Ari asks him to stay away from office. Protest erupts as PDP demands announcement of election results. All these stories are on page 4 of this Nigerian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Ogun woman sells 18-month-old baby for 600K to offset bank loan. Now that story is on page 15 of this Nigerian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says court refuses to lift LP's chairman suspension as LSC storms secretariat. That story is on page 4 of this Nigerian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says that judge in Aru's suspension case steps down, transfers file to Benue CG. That story is on page 14 of this Nigerian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Atiku Obi Kwankwaso helped Tinubu's victory, says Fashola. That story is on page 12 of this Nigerian newspaper. We'll have a story here as well that says travelers stranded as aviation workers strike, cripple activities in Lagos, Abuja, other airports. That story is on page 5 as well of this Nigerian paper. And we've seen most of the headlines here today, but quickly, I just want to say court refuses, Labour Party. I think NFC, the Labour and the unions will have to really do something. Thank God they went to that secretariat. They should resolve this, because this is, I keep saying this is the party that a lot of youth actually recognize, associated with. And let's not come and have the PDP and APC's drama and scenario as well in Labour Party, because the youths are already so disappointed when it comes to these issues they are having. A lot of people actually had high hopes in Labour Party. They felt this is a new party, and then not really new, but with the movement, obedient movement, they felt something new and something big will come out. But we're already seeing a lot of crisis coming out from Labour Party, and I think this is not something that is encouraging. The unions will have to do something as a matter of urgency. We move on quickly to the next newspaper we have this morning.
Coming from the leadership newspaper this morning, the big news here says Adamawa governorship. INEC has no power to void my declaration, Binani tells courts. The writer here says PDP governor demand end to electoral impropriety. Commission suspends REC Hudu Yunusa Ari for inglorious act to decide on poll today. PDP supporters protest in Yola. You find the story on page 4 of the leadership newspaper this morning. We also have a story here that says stop killings in southern Kaduna, Benue, Taraba now. You find that story on page 15 of the leadership newspaper. Ogun woman sells 18-month-old baby to offset bank loan. And then we also have a story that says 2.4 billion naira debt. AMCON tax over assets of Blano, Nigeria. We also have a story here coming from leadership newspaper this morning. Passengers trek to catch flights as Union ground airports. We have a story, defend Nigeria at all costs, COAS charge troops. coming from the leadership newspaper this morning. Hope rises for Nigerian students as federal government okays Oxford malaria vaccine. You find that story on page 8 of the leadership newspaper this morning. Finally, we have a story that says NLC vows to flush out usurpers from Labour Party. You find that story on page 23 of the leadership newspaper. Those are the news making waves this morning.
And like I said before, like this story of NLC vows to flush out a usurpers from Labour Party is a very good move, because this is a party that the youth have recognized with, have identified with. So let's not have PDP and APC drama and scenarios in that party.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we also have a story here that says stop killings in southern Kaduna, Benue, Taraba now. Now we have been appealing that if possible, if they used to, for instance, we had 30 troops there, they should make it 200 for each,
so
or even 500, because the killings, they are suffering. People, they are really suffering, because we are here in Abuja, we don't even know what is going on. We just sit here and we read at this report. It's really sad, and we think the security, we have to do more. And I like this call as well. Say defend Nigeria at all costs. COAS charges troops. Please, you have to do that at all costs. These are some of the stories we have from the leadership, and we're going to move on to the last newspaper we have this morning. We have here million euro man Villarreal to Madrid, pay 800 million euro, get Chukwueze. Now this is the Punch Sports Extra, and these are some of the stories we have making wave here this morning. We also have a story here that says Joshua in drugs test mix up. Now that story is on page 6 of the Punch Sports Extra this morning. We also have a story here that says Balogun not Arsenal stranded. That story is on page 6 as well of Punch Extra this morning. We also have a story here that says Chelsea holds talks with Nagelsmann. That story is on page 4 of the Punch Extra this morning. We also have a story here that says Napoli versus Milan. Osimhen on verge of UCL history as Italian giants face off in Naples. That story is on page 3 of the Punch Sport Extra this morning. We also have a story here that says Ronaldo Igola clash in Saudi. That story is on page 7 of the Punch Sports Extra this morning. And now these are some of the stories we have here this morning coming from the sports decks. And you might just want to get the paper to get more details on that now.
Especially the story of Ronaldo Igalo clash in Saudi. I really want to read more
on that right?
story. Yeah, I wonder what they are clashing for. Igalo is a very good player here, and he's clashing with almighty Ronaldo.
But you never can tell. If you don't clash with them, you can't know how powerful you are. You have to meet them for you to know. And that is what you do in life. Yeah. You have to clash with the ones that are big, and then you just have to know your power, whether to try more or to beat them or to keep trying. That is how life is. And then we wrap up the newspaper. I'm going to go on a quick break, and when I return, I'll be coming in with a guest this morning. Of course, we know the trending, very topical issues since yesterday, the Adamawa drama and wreck issues here and there. We'll have a guest that will be dissecting some of these issues with us this morning. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
RTV London, in partnership with NTA TV Enterprise, present the maiden edition of the Nigerian Week in the capital of the world, London. A wonderful blend of entertainment, business, and networking, displaying a wide range of arts, national cash crops, financial products and services, and real estate. For huge extra opportunity in diaspora, look no further. The 36 states of the Federation, the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Trade and Investment, the Nigerian Film Corporation, and host of others will be in attendance. Date 15 15th to 21st of May 2023. Venue, Lighthouse, Camberwell, Southeast London. For details, log on www.superiorradiotelevision.com/Nigerian Week or call +447 549 513 619 or +234 814 358 2856. The Nigerian Week celebration.
Ladies, are you ready to shine? Here's a golden opportunity for you to show the world the queen in you, as the second edition of Face of SRTV Ladies Edition is about to begin. What are you waiting for? Register online with just 500 naira and stand a chance of winning a cash prize.
Back from that quick break, and before that break, I promised I was going to come back with a guest. Of course, we know the trending, the Adamawa drama, and so much crisis, protest, and uproar in that state as we speak. I have a guest with me this morning to dissect some of these issues we have this morning. And of course, I have with me here in the studio this morning Dr. Emmanuel Ekwemalu. You're welcome to the show this morning. He's an election management consultant. He's live with us here this morning. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm fine. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have a lot of trending issues. You already know the Adamawa issue, the crisis here and there.
Yes.
Now, what's your take on the happenings there? Of course, we saw where the REC usurped the power of the returning officer to announce that result, which is now causing a lot of commotion and chaos. Now, what's your take on that?
First of all, what the REC of Adamawa did, it was illegal. He had no powers to do what he did. But what he made Nigerians know was that it was a hatchet plan.
Okay.
It was a plan to that, and he took a very big risk by, let me just do this. Whatever the outcome might be, I'll take responsibility for it.
Wow.
But not knowing that that's an old era in the electoral body or in INEC, that he was following the trend or the stance of once a candidate is being declared, he stands. But not knowing the Electoral Act as of 2022 was already signed. The new Electoral Act were not longer following the one for 2010. And he forgot to know that the only person that can do that is a state returning officer that has the powers to return a candidate. So what he did cannot stand, and it's very, very illegal.
Okay, sir. INEC said that the announcement is of no effect. What's your take on Binani rushing to give us a certain speech, knowing fully well that the coalition was still ongoing? Do you see this move as desperate?
Yeah, that's desperation, and that is an analog. Will I put it? Start. You know, when someone is not enlightened about certain issues, that they tend to make mistakes. This is an old time. That's the time of CPAT, the time of guard reader. But this is BVAC. This is the new electoral law. You understand? She taking acceptance speech clearly shows you that it was already planned. That's desperation. Such person is not supposed to head any
public office. Okay.
Okay, because he already rushed to give that declaration will hold. It can't hold. On what basis will the declaration hold? Before you declare someone a candidate, there must be instances or there must be reasons. One, there must be figures to be used to declare a candidate. If you're saying this person won, or what number of votes the person win, or what the person following second, what figures were allotted to each political
Each
parties. You
parties.
don't know. So you just can't come out and say, so person won. On what basis did the person win? So you see, their plan failed because they didn't plan their criminality very well.
Now, doctor, in a country like Nigeria, where women are seen as second class figures, and then we had this lady, a lot of people actually had high hopes, but we also know that since yesterday, a lot of people have been, they've been a lot of backlash and how a lot of people they saw her move, like you said, as a desperation. Now, what do you think? Just maybe, we don't know. The judiciary will have to decide. We know that case is still pending. Everything has been suspended. But now, what do you think that as an election consultant, that this case, do you see it in her favor, or what are we to hope for?
No. Let me discard the impression of women as second-class figure.
Okay.
There's nothing like that. Everyone is equal.
Okay.
Both in the sight of God, both in the sight of God.
Okay.
They can't be second-class figure because every man was given birth to by a woman.
But of course, this is Africa, and that is the make-believe in Africa. It's a man's word here.
In politics, women are just being scared of coming out. You don't be scared. You come out. You make a move. After all, there are a lot of women, strong women, but in the Senate, there are a lot of women here and there. Anambra has had a governor before that was a woman. You understand?
But are you sure, coming from another state, that they are going to accept her? Just in case she wins.
No, they can't accept. She has not been declared a winner.
We know, but we're just, yes.
If she wins by law.
By law, yes.
A woman, a female woman is a governor, but you cannot win like this desperation, like this criminality, and like what they planned to do. And mind you, God has no business with this, with what the REC did. The REC had no part. They suspended
the REC. Yes, I was gonna come to that, because we had some of the headlines. So all the headlines this morning, I get towards the same issue we've been having since yesterday, and now. But we're going to move to the headlines. But just before then,
yes, people are of the opinion that INEC is capable of causing civil unrest in this country with and double standard and error-born electoral umpire. What are some of the lessons you think Nigeria can learn from this year election?
Because you said, like you just mentioned, that this was a serious mistake, and then what do you think we can do as a consultant?
Well, first and foremost, INEC cannot cause any civil unrest. INEC has not gone towards that direction. INEC is still on course with what they're doing, and to tell you that INEC is not biased. They immediately refuted what the REC did. They have suspended him, they have removed him, because that is unprofessional, that is unlike a REC. The REC came in like, he just came like an arm robber in the daytime to rob people in broad daylight. So to tell you INEC is not biased, they've even removed him. And the suspension of collation is just to douse the tension and to rectify the mistake they did by themselves. You understand me? Because the REC is someone they put there. So the suspension is just to make things normal.
Well, we have, but as we speak now, there are a lot of protests ongoing right there in Adamawa.
And I see this.
It's a normal thing to protest by the other political parties who saw what the REC did. That's a peaceful protest, just to pour out their feelings that what INEC did was wrong. But INEC was very proactive immediately that same day to denounce what he had done and said the declaration is null and void because collation has not finished. So I'm telling you that by today or tomorrow, they will go back because the administrative secretary of INEC in Adamawa has taken charge. So now by today or by tomorrow, INEC will give an announcement to go back and collect the remaining 10 local governments enforcement in Adamawa.
So let's see this. Let's say the INEC come out to declare a different person as the winner. Don't you think this would tamper on the peace of the Adamawa people? Because already some persons are jubilating.
INEC is not partisan. INEC has no business with the figures. INEC's business is to conclude the collation and declare a winner. Like we said, and like we all saw, that what the REC did was illegal criminality. Even the REC is supposed to be calling us in the police cell by now.
I was going to come to that, Dr. Emmanuel. I was going to ask. A lot of people actually are seeing this as a very, very grievous mistake. So is even a suspension enough for a crime such as his? Just suspending.
By today or by this week, they will constitute a legal action against the REC. They know INEC knows what to do. That one is clear. And they will do it so that they can clear their name. They will not cover him. They will never shade him for this. Even the president, wherever he is, has seen that this man, it's just at the middle of a football match. Somebody will just carry the ball in his hands, run to the post of the field and throw the ball inside. Run away from the field and say, go! My dear, it's going to be funny to the cameramen, to the viewers, to the fans. Everybody will be dumbfounded. You understand what I'm saying? So now, INEC will go back. The results that were collected are already kept in the INEC office. They will now call back all the work collection officers, which is area collection officers, the result officers, partners, local governments. They will now compile, compute, and collection will start. Then they will hand over what they have collected to the clearing eyes of the whole country, submit to the state return officer, and whoever meets the requirement or wins will be declared. It could be the woman, it could be another person. So she was so much in a hurry to have done this illegality. You understand me? Thinking that the old norm is declare me winner and it cannot be reversed.
And it cannot be reversed. Okay, I see why she made that move. Yes.
If you are the returning officer, if you are the state returning officer that did this or declared this, by now it would have been over. Binani would have been the governor-elect.
Okay.
That nothing will stop it. But because he was not the returning officer who had the powers to do that, he was the REC, is not avoid. If it were the returning officer that did this now, my dear, so by now it's over.
But what are some of the lessons you think we should learn from this as a people, as a commission?
Well, INEC, to me, as they can be scored 75% in this whole election from the 20th.
Doctor, are you being fair right now, Dr. Emmanuel?
Yeah, I'm being fair.
Okay.
I know there were mistakes in the national and the presidential election. There were mistakes.
Yes. Very well, you pointed that out. Yes.
We learn every day. Even if you are bad, most times you can be good in some aspects of your life. It could be you are temperamental. It could be you are a giver. You understand? So we will not judge you based on just your bad side or add your good side. And there are improvements. And we improve every day. Believing that maybe in subsequent elections, INEC will improve more. You can see the improvement by them not supporting evil or by them making other votes count despite the odds in other elections. So to me, we pray that Nigeria one day everything will be okay. But it's a process. Even in the United States of America, that is the Western world, they have mistakes. After Trump came out and was saying that Biden didn't win, they were saying no. There must be flaws. So by the grace of God, INEC will keep on improving and making sure that every vote counts in this country.
Well, thank you so much. I've been on call on the show with Dr. Emmanuel Ekwemalo, his election management consultant. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us on the show this morning. Thank you
so
for your time. And where you are at there, please to have yourself a very lovely day. Stay at alert and be careful out there.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we've been on with Dr. Emmanuel Ekwemalo, election management consultant, and we've heard so much why she made that.
I think I love the fact that he had to clear the statement that women are not second class.
But we know this is Africa. He said maybe that is just one man's opinion against a lot of men.
Yeah.
Yes, and I said it also that I felt Binani's action was not for me. That was too quick. That statement was too quick. But we'll leave that for INEC to conclude the rerun, the polls, and then of course, we get a winner and we know what follows up the aftermath. You go to court if you are not satisfied, so that people will go back to their normal lives. Anyway, thank you so much for being part of the show today. Is a very good place to wrap up the show. But just before we go, don't forget on Nigerian Week London that is fast approaching. Of course, it's going to be fun. Let's talk about the music, the films, the entertainment, of course, the food, and business opportunities. We're going to meet a lot of people there. It's going to be colorful. You need to get your stand, your tickets, and be part of it. Also, don't forget to hit on the notification bell, like our page, our content, and of course, share our content. Also, invite somebody to the page and let that person invite, and let it be a chain of invites. You know where you are. This is SRO TV Studio. We've been on the show Wake Up Nigeria with my girl here, Pat. Thank you so much, Pat.
It's been fun.
It's been fun, and I love the fact that the Dr. Emmanuel made some clarification. She actually thought they were still working with an old law that when you are declared, they cannot reverse it yet. But unfortunately, it's another law and another ball game entirely. And so thank you so much for being part of the show. We do this again tomorrow while you are at there. Stay safe, be at alert, and mothers, do well to put eyes on your children. And of course, driver, obey the law. Drive carefully. Before we go,
just remember that peace is priceless.
So let's give peace a chance. I'm Princess KESSY.
And I am Patience OKOSUN.
Bye.
RTV London, in partnership with NTA TV Enterprise, present the maiden edition of the Nigerian Week in the capital of the world, London. A wonderful blend of entertainment, business, and networking, displaying a wide range of art, national